Hello, and welcome to another video. Today I figured we could just hang out and chat for a bit as I go through this Duskmourn sealed deck. The Foundation's pre-release is coming up this weekend, which is absolutely wild, but I am looking forward to it. And normally on my channel, I'll do a sealed deck video right before a new set comes out, so we can get some sealed deck practice beforehand. But for today, I still had a deck kicking around in my backpack from an RCQ that I played a few weeks ago that still needs to be unsleeved and deconstructed, so I thought we could take a look at it together while I do that. And in case you aren't familiar, an RCQ is a regional championship qualifier, which is a tournament played at the competitive rules enforcement level, and you are playing for invites to a larger regional championship tournament. Though personally I don't really have any aspirations of making it to a regional championship, I do really enjoy playing in these RCQ tournaments. So yeah, I went and played in a sealed RCQ a few weeks ago. I ended with a 2-3 record, which isn't great. We can get a little more into that later, but I really enjoyed my deck and I had a lot of fun playing it, even though admittedly I came into this tournament relatively unprepared. At the time, I had only played in a handful of Duskmourn drafts, and the only sealed experience I had with Duskmourn was from the pre-release. But I really did not anticipate how much of a challenge this deck would be to play. So let me get my deck laid out here and we can see what I was working with. And I'll also show you what else I had in my pool but wasn't playing. So I guess you could call this a Sultai Manifest deck. My basic plan here was to try and manifest as much as possible until we got up to the top end, or to get out Abhorrent Oculus as early as possible, particularly through manifesting, so that I could overwhelm the board with creatures, as the Oculus will continue to manifest each turn. I also wanted to be able to get a decent amount of cards into the graveyard quickly to power up Delirium for things like the Swarm Weaver and the Head Shredder, and also be able to exile 6 cards from my graveyard if I needed to hardcast the Oculus. But yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed playing this deck. It was maybe a little unfocused, but I think that is to be expected in Sealed. I went into this with pretty high hopes for the Unstoppable Slasher, but this really just ended up being a lightning rod. It got to do its thing maybe once, and was otherwise well managed by my opponents, either keeping it tapped down or exiling it. Interestingly, all but one of my opponents had an Unstoppable Slasher in their deck as well. I don't know how common of a rare this is, but it seemed pretty wild to me that in a single tournament I would encounter so many of the same rare. Twitching Doll never got to do its thing, unfortunately. I put it in here for mana fixing because I was a little nervous about running 3 colors and having double pips in each one, but Twitching Doll never really showed up on time to do that. It always showed up pretty late, and I would try to get some counters on it to make those spider tokens, but never really got there. Mana didn't really end up being too much of an issue, though. I did have some other ways to get there, like Under the Skin to get lands back from the graveyard, the Island Cycling and Moldering Gym. I also had a Terramorphic Expanse in here. Swarm Weaver performed really well all day. The Head Shredder was a great way to kind of upgrade some of those manifest creatures. Once they were starting to get outclassed as 2/2s, having that 5/5 for them to crew was really helpful. But I think Abhorrent Oculus was kind of the star of the day. I really didn't have much trouble getting it onto the battlefield, even when I had to hardcast it from my hand. A flying 5/5 that makes 2/2s every turn is going to end the game quickly unless they deal with it. There were even a couple of times that I happened to manifest it off of Weight Room, so I got to flip it into an 8/8 flyer. So that was cool. Though I did learn you have to be careful with this, because I did end up decking myself one game. I had cast it kind of late and my deck was getting pretty small. The board was completely stalled and I didn't have a way to get rid of my own Oculus. That did not go over well for me, but that was the point where the wheels kind of really started falling off for me anyway. I just hit this wall mentally where I could not focus anymore somewhere during round 4. At that point I was 2-1, so losing in round 4 would solidly put me out of contention for top 8. And I was definitely feeling some pressure from that, but I think more so I was really just starting to hit a point of fatigue. And then going back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video, I really underestimated the amount of decisions that this deck would require when I built it. Like, manifesting on its own is just one tiny decision, but when you're manifesting turn after turn while trying to think 2 or 3 turns ahead, all of those tiny decisions really stack up and can be very draining. I know this might sound obvious, especially if you are seasoned in playing really thought-intensive decks, but this really caught me off guard that day. And, I've been playing Magic for a long time, going on 12 years off and on, but I don't really recall a time where I hit a wall like this so completely. So anyway, needless to say, I lost round 4 and went into round 5 knowing that I was just going to be playing for fun. So I let myself get a little more relaxed and loose, but even so, I really just had to be done with playing Magic for the day and got thoroughly destroyed. It was a good time anyway. But let's quickly look through the sideboard and then we can wrap up. Up front we have all the stuff in these colors that I could potentially sideboard in. There were some things in here that I would have been interested in running, but really had to shave down what I thought was most reasonable and efficient. Though of course I am curious to hear if there's anything in here that you would have run. We've got artifacts, multicolor, and land. And then there were some good things in white and red. There were some cards in here that I was pretty interested in, but with the Swarm Weaver, the Slasher, and the Oculus, I was feeling pretty committed to Sultai. Oh yeah, and then the Sleight of Hand promo. Don't want to lose that. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today and looking through a sealed deck with me. Let me know if you have any thoughts on my deck, and have you played in any RCQs lately, whether they've been constructed or sealed? I would love to hear about it down in the comments. And I would also love to know what you are looking forward to most in Foundations, and if you are planning on going to a pre-release, let me know. But that will do it for today. If you enjoyed this video, I would absolutely love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll be back with new Magic the Gathering ASMR videos every Monday and Friday. As always, thank you so much for all of your support, and I hope you have a wonderful day.